Okay, right, so we're live on YouTube. Don't want to show that. I want to show that. Right. So yesterday we started, on Monday we started with arrays, and we did a few things, but we didn't really, we did much. I mean, we did a lot. We learned a lot. I want to say we didn't really get far. But today I'm going to look at a few other things that are really important for arrays that I'll probably ask you to do in some way in a test, not tomorrow, because tomorrow's test will only cover up to nesting, but at some point in the future. And that's that third task that's illustrated here. The one that says find the maximum of the array values. So we are going to make a little array and write the code to do that. So I'm going to make a new class in source, okay, and I'll call it arrays3. I'll call it arrays3, and we're just going. Well, let's make a main. We always do that. Int array called vals for values. And I'm going to put in a few values. I'm going to put in, let's see, 3141, 2567 minus 98, 70. Oh, let's make it 12. Okay, so I have my array. And I've got those 6 values inside the array, and now I'm asked to find the largest value in the array. So it's easy peasy when it's only 6. I can just look and see that I expect it to be 67. But if there were more values, 1,000, 1,000,000, it'll be a lot harder. So I'm going to write code to find the maximum. There are a couple of ways I can do this. So let's do the following. I'm going to say the maximum is some value that I don't know. And I'm going to have a for loop that starts at the first value of the slot of the array, which is vals 0, and it goes on to the last slot of the array. But how many slots are there? How do I say when this for loop must stop? Well, almost always we say vals.length. We saw yesterday that vals.length tells you the number of values, number of slots in an array. You cannot possibly run out of seats. No, it's just shifting it. Right. The number of values in the array, vals.length. I don't have to say -1, even though the last slot is called vals.length -1. If vals.length is 10, the slots can only go up to slot 9. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But I don't have to say vals.length -1 here, because we know that this idiom of the for loop means that I will get all the values up to before whatever I put there. So the last possible value that I will take on is vals.length -1. It goes in the loop. Okay, so now I'm dealing with vals I. This is a new value of the array. It is potentially a new maximum. So I have to check, is this a new maximum or not? So if this is bigger than my maximum, vals I is larger than what I thought was the maximum, so I've got to update my maximum. And at the end, I'll print the maximum. But Java's complaining. It won't allow me to make that comparison with max in line 8, because it says the local variable max. It sounds very loud. It's just the volume. It's just the volume. It's just the volume. Is this the volume? Is this the volume? Is this the... Fine. I'm just going to assume that this is normal. When I get feedback also, too much feedback. It won't allow me to compare vals I with max, because max, it says, has not been initialized. So I must pick some value for max. Now, what value do I pick? Well, let's say 0. I'm guessing the maximum in the array is 0. And now I am allowed to compare vals I with max, and if it is larger, I found a new maximum. I can hear faint ringing. I don't like that. I wonder if it's this mic. I set the new maximum to vals I if I find it's bigger than the maximum. Right, so this seems fine, and it'll work perfectly for this array. Let's see. Let's save it and run it. Good, it finds 67. But there is a bug in this code. It won't always work. Because I've made a guess, and my guess might be wrong. My guess that max is 0 initially may be entirely wrong. If these values were negative, it says the maximum value in the array is 0 at the bottom of the console. It says max is 0, but we know it's not. We know that the maximum value is minus 12, because that's the largest value. That's the maximum value in the array. And yeah, they're all negative, but things are often negative. So this is not a big issue, because we write this kind of code so often that we will learn a different idiom for writing this piece of code, this kind of code. And that different idiom is to say that it doesn't matter what value I guess for max at the start, 0 or minus 10 or minus 1,000,000 or minus 9999999, it may always be wrong. I may get to a situation where my guess is wrong. But there's a different kind of guess I can make that is guaranteed not to be wrong at the end. And that is that the very first value is the maximum. No matter what it is, the very first value is the maximum. And then, if I do find a larger value later on, I'll update my max. I'll replace that very first value with the bigger value until I get to the end of the array. But I can't go wrong by guessing the first value is the maximum, because I look at each of the values. If any of them is bigger than the first, then I will replace max. So this will work fine. Okay, this is step 1 of the new plan. So let's run and see if I get the minus 12 I'm supposed to get. Yep. So now the program says minus 12 is the maximum value. It started off by guessing that it might be minus 31. And then it looked at each of the values of the array in turn, and if it found one that's bigger, the minus 25 was bigger first, and then the minus 12 was bigger at the end. It updates max. And usually we add another little step to this idiom, this little pattern of code that you write over and over and over. And that is to say that instead of starting at 0, I only need to start at slot 1. Look, I've already guessed that the first value is going to be the maximum. So there's no use in the very first iteration of the for loop to look at that value again and say, well, is this value bigger than itself? We know it won't be. So that very first iteration of the loop where I is 0 is unnecessary. I've already guessed that 0 contains the largest value. All I need to do is start looking at slot 1, slot 2, slot 3, and so on, to see if I can find a bigger value. So I'm going to change this int I equals 0 to int I equals 1. So I'm not looking at the first value again. Okay, let's just make sure this will still work. So it still finds the minus 12. Let's just fix this so that the very first value is the maximum. Will it find the minus 3 or will it replace it mistakenly? So save, run. Oh, excellent. It finds the minus 3. Let's see if we can change this code to find the second largest value in the array. The second largest value in the array. This is going to be much trickier and has much greater potential for being a good question for a test or exam. How do I do this? Oh, I don't know. I just don't know. Well, I actually really need to remember two values now. The biggest and the second biggest. I want to explain this, but it's that I can. Maybe you already understand it, but it's going to be tricky to just keep track of the second biggest. I'm not sure what I mean. I don't want to just show you the solution, but I also can't find the words now to explain. I'm making this up on the cuff. Now, this is bad because I should prepare for classes, and I do prepare, but it's also important to show you how to think on the fly, solve new problems. So let's see. I'm going to keep on keeping track of the maximum value, but then I'll add another value. Oops, sorry, I can't see my cursor because of the way this is set up. Oh, much better. Okay. I'm going to also keep track of max second. I have to create some value, so I'm going to start giving you the value of 0. Okay. Okay, fine, I can live with that. Okay. Now, I think I've got the second biggest, which is 0. I know that the biggest so far, val 0. Max is in slot 0, I'm pretending. Of all the slots I've seen, it's definitely in slot 0. And second max, I'm just making that 0. That's probably wrong for the same reason that making max 0 in the past was wrong. But let's stick with that. So now I'm walking along the slots, and I'm looking at the next slot, slot 1. Now, if slot 1 is bigger than my max that I know so far, definitely max should be changed. There's seats here, and there's seats like in the middle, but there's a seat here. And maybe there, you'll have to, I don't know, shift people, shift. Just a little. Okay, right, excellent, thanks. I get a new value, slot 1. Yeah, I find it's bigger than max. So I definitely need to update max. But what happens to second max, second biggest? Well, it can now inherit max's old value. So I find a new maximum, and the previous maximum must be the second biggest one I know so far. So when I get a value that's bigger than max, I'm going to say, okay, well, put max in second, max second. Take the old max value and put it in the second biggest value, and then take the new value that's so big and put that in max. That makes sense, doesn't it? Okay. A few questions. What happens if I change these statements around? That was almost my first instinct, but I have to be very careful. What happens if I swap the order of those two statements, those two assignments? Well, in the first step, remember max is the one I know so far. I've just come across one that's bigger than max, and second max is something else. I take the new maximum, I put that in max, and then in the next line, I put that max value in the second max. So both max and second max both contain the new maximum. And I've lost the old maximum. So that was definitely a mistake. The right thing to do is to first move my maximum to my second maximum, and then put the new value into max. So I'm happy with that. If I find a big value in one of the new slots, the next slot, I update max and I update second max. What if I don't find a big value in the new slot? Well, if it's really tiny, if it's tiny, I don't care about it. It's not going to replace max. It's not going to replace second max either. But there is a special situation, and that is where the new value is not bigger than max, but it is bigger than second max. So max was 100. My second biggest value that I knew was 0, and now I come across 50. 50 is not bigger than 100. It's not going to displace max, but it is bigger than 0. So it is going to displace my second max, my second biggest value that I know. So I'm going to add an else here. Else, I haven't found a new big maximum, but else, if this value that I found, 50, that one, is bigger than my second max, then I should update second max. Max can stay the same, it's still 100, but second max needs to go up from 0 to 50 at least. So I'm going to say second max is vals I. And otherwise, it's even smaller than second max. I'm not going to worry about it. It's a tiny little value that nobody cares about. Still loads of mistakes in this code, because as before, choosing second max to be 0 is probably not a good idea. But let's see how it works out. I've decided to keep that name, even though I should really print second biggest value is. It's a good idea to keep the variable name there in the string so that when I see an output and I want to see, oh, what's that funny value 50? Oh, it's a value that's stored in max second. So that's why I print this instead of second largest value yes. Just makes it easier to debug if I see funny output. Save, oh, it's already saved. Run. So now I'm running on this array. Let's just see if we can figure out what the answer should be. Well, the biggest value seems to be -3, and the second largest -12. So I want to see -3 and -12. So let's run. Oh, no. This is terrible. I'm not picking up -12. Exactly for the reason that before, if I started with max 0, it didn't pick up -3 either. And the reason is that all these values are negative. So making second max 0 is not the right answer. What do we do? Well, I guess one thing we could do is to say, well, pick the second slot for second max, and pick the first slot for max, and then you start looking at the third slot of the array, vals 2. And this is fine, this is something it will work, except if I pick the wrong way around in those first 2 assignments. So if I see here that actually the second largest is larger than max, I should be swapping them around. So I can do that, it's pretty easy. I had a mistake. Get this way around. So this is one way of doing it. I'm going to run the code, and it works fine. Beautiful. So I start by getting the first value is the maximum, the second one is the second maximum. Just make a check if that is right, and if not, swap it around. And then I start in the third slot, and I see if I can find any bigger values that I can pick up. I can break this code. I can make this code not work. By doing what? By making it so that there is no second largest value. Let's take an array that's quite small. Only the one element. So -3 is definitely the maximum, but there is no second largest, no second maximum. If I run this code, bad, get a little exception. Once again, if I just fill in an array like this, or if I know I'm working with a big array, then it's fine, no problem. But sometimes you don't know how big the array is. And your code's supposed to work in all cases. So I'm going to improve my code so that it works always. And it does not make the assumption that there is at least one element. I'm sorry, I've been eating carrots all morning. We had staff tea, so the carrots on the brain, carrots in my teeth. I feel like my mouth is full of carrots. Okay, I'm going to fix the code. And the way I'm going to fix it is to say that I'm going to say, oh, how do I fix it in this situation? Excuse me a second. I'm going to give a special value to second max to mean there is no second max. Okay? So I'm going to write here special. And it's going to be some number that I'm going to spell correctly. And for now, I'm just going to call it 0, but I'll fix that in a second. So I pick the first slot as the maximum, and I say that the second biggest at the moment does not exist. It's got a special value, a placeholder, meaning no second maximum. And now I'm going to do exactly what I did before, except I'll start at the first slot, or the second slot, vals 1, and I look at the value that's stored there. If it's bigger than maximum, it displays as maximum, but only after maximum displays as second maximum. And that code is fine. But in the next slide, I'm comparing vals I to max second, which may have the special value, meaning I don't have one yet. So I can't really make that comparison. So I'm going to add something here to the if. I'm going to say if max second is the special value. It doesn't exist yet. So if max second is a special value, store this vals I in max second. I look at a value, it's not bigger than max, and I don't have a second maximum value. So let's take this value as the second biggest. So this situation will only arise once in the code. Max second starts off a special. Actually, this code must also disappear. So max second starts off a special, and the very first time I get a value that's not bigger than max, I see that, oh yeah, max second is still special, so I'm going to put the value I found in max second. But this will only happen once during each run of this program, and otherwise, I'm only going to put the value in max second if it's bigger than max second. I think I've lost a couple of you. Excellent. Good. Okay, so who still feels 100% confident in how this code works? Come on, be generous. Okay, right. 75% confident. 50, 25, 0. Oh my God, you know what this means? There's some of you who's less than 0% confident this code works. How is that possible? I'm starting to teach you and you're losing knowledge. I'm not adding it. Oh no, you're losing. So let's work through this again. I know it's a little boring if you already understand, but it's important. And all these little tricks, they add up. Okay, so let's just see what happens. Everybody happy with the fact that I start off by putting val 0 in max? Who's not happy? Who's not happy with line 7? Be honest. I start off by guessing that val 0 will be the biggest value that I'll find in this array. I'm really confident about that. And I put that value in max. So that's not going to bother anybody. And let's take away second max. Second max. Second max. Let's just keep to what we did before. Everybody's happy that I put val 0 in max. And I think everybody's happy that I start at the second slot of the array, and I compare all those values to max in line 14. If I find a bigger one, I replace the value of max with this new bigger one. And I keep on doing that in the whole loop until I get to the end. and I print the value of max. So I'm going to guess everybody's happy with that. If you're not happy with that, then why are you frowning? Because you're chewing gum? The gum chewing into frowning? Am I confusing you? Mag ik in elkaar? Mag ik jullie in elkaar? Oké. Wat is die probleem? Vraag mij een vraag.
Okay.
I speak to Afrikaans, hè?
It's special offer.
Ah, great. I knew this would happen, and I've got just the solution. Okay, specialist for that. Wat is special praat jy van? Ek weet nie waarvan jy praat nie. Focus, people, focus. Okay. Nothing special to see here, just move on. I'm going to assume everybody's happy with the way we do max. You find the max. Gelukkig? Alles okay now? Okay, that's all. Right. So now, moet ons 'n manier kry om die tweede grootste we have to find a way to find the second biggest value of in the arrow. I'm sorry, I'm switching to Afrikaans. English is not facile. Please. You want me to swap them and run the program again, okay? Because you think that, why? Why? I don't have to do it because you say so. Why? Did I make a mistake here? Well, you think so? You think hard enough to tell me to do this. Okay, let's see. What must the answer be? Okay. You might be right. I make many mistakes. That is my signature. That's my signature move, making a mistake. Okay, I'm going to run this program. Are you ready? Okay. Oh, that one, no. No, maybe I did make a mistake. Oh, terrible. Let's run. Oh, okay, right. So why did you think it won't give? Would stop too soon. No, I think the danger is that the loop can carry on too long. I think the confusion is that people will think, well, I put valve slit length here, but the last slot is valve slit length -1. Maybe this loop is going on too long. Maybe I should put a -1 there, make it stop sooner. I don't want to go beyond the last slot of the array. But let's see what happens if I do that. This is an amazing trick. Okay. Ah! The loop stopped too soon. It never looked at the -3 at the end. It didn't have the chance to update max. It didn't find the -3. See that, Sally? Sally, you still understand? Okay, right. So I didn't have the chance to update the -3 and put that in max because I stopped too soon. Sorry, Sally? Is that right? Okay, right. So we stopped too soon. This must be valve slit length. Okay, fine. Where are we? Okay, fine. We have loads of time. Right. So how do I find the second max? The second largest. I already know the largest by keeping it in a special box called max that I remember as I go through the array. And as I go through the array, I update this max box, the value of max, if I find a bigger value. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Tristan, what's your name? I'll just start giving you names because there's no chance in hell I'm going to remember your name. Tristan, that's Mike's name. Carlo. Oh, Italiano. Sì. Okay, Carlo. It's so difficult to add Afrikaans to the Italian accent. Carlo, what I was going to ask you, are you happy with keeping a second biggest value in the second box? I'm really keeping max in a special box on the side, which I update when I go through the array. So I'm going to do the same thing for second max. I'm going to make a box that I call max second, and I have to give it a value. I'm going to make it 0 again. That's where I store the second biggest value. And now there are a couple of things I have to figure out. How do I update second max as I walk through the array? I'm walking through the array, looking at each of the slots one by one. I get to a new slot. Do I update second max or not? Well, if I find that this new value is already bigger than max, I'm definitely going to update max. But if I get a new maximum, that old maximum can displace the second max. So if my record maximum value so far is 50, and I suddenly come across 100, then 100 will take the place of 50 because it's a new max, but 50 becomes the second place winner. Let's try a sporting event. Is that my phone? Somebody's got to wake up. You! Okay, fantastic. All right. I was saying that I need to find some kind of sporting event what kind of sporting event do people come in to the finish line and they displace each other? I can't think now. So, what? A car race? No, that's not true because the first one that comes to the finish line stays the winner. I want people to finish and say again. No, that's not a true Olympic sporting event yet. Yes. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it does work that way, doesn't it? So they have a staggered start. Is that right? They've got a staggered start. Doesn't matter. We make a new game. Let's make a new game. A new sport, almost a little like musical chairs. The Olympic sport is musical chairs. But let's make a sport called rabbit hunting, where people run around a forest, and then they come to a finish line, and the winner is the guy with the most rabbits. So somebody might come in, they have 50 rabbits, and we say at the moment they're the winner. But if the next guy comes along and he has 100 rabbits, then he becomes the new winner, and 50 rabbit guy. Someone comes in with 120 rabbits, and now they become the gold medalist, and 100 rabbit guy gets the silver medal, and he pushes 50 rabbit guy off the podium. So as I'm looking at each of the slots, a new slot may be so big that it pushes out the current max. The current max pushes out the second biggest value. Tristan, Carlo, do you comprende? Capisce? None of me here. Oh, great. Let's hope it's me here. Okay, fine. Okay, so Carlo, verstaan jy waarom ek eers hierdie assignment doen? Waarom is dit verkeerd? So now I'm going to do something naughty. I am going to, am I going to? Can I? Should I? How do I do that? I wanted to use a document camera, but I'm too scared because this is too complex. I don't know how it works. So I won't be using document camera. I'll be using something else. I'll just use whatever I have. What can I use? PowerPoint. Actually, I'd love to use a blackboard, but we don't use those at the university anymore. We used to have lots of blackboard in all teaching halls, but then there was the great chalk crisis of 2012 or something. All the chalk in the world was supposed to be running out. They couldn't make more, couldn't find more, couldn't mine more chalk mines. So that the prices went up amazingly, and the university decided to get rid of all blackboard chalk. Now we could have had whiteboards, but well, we don't. That's just sad, but that's just life. Okay, what's new? I don't want to do anything new. I just want to continue. Right, good. Oh, wow. Spiffy. I just want something blank. Can I have something blank? Oh. Good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try with PowerPoint to illustrate this whole idea of the boxes, just so that Carlo can be sure he understands. Because what's the use if I explain something to you and you don't really understand? So I'm hoping that this will help. Google. Earth. No, that's fine. Don't need that. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw my box for Max. Oh man, so many choices. So here's my little box. And inside this box, I'm going to store Max. I want a black line. Doesn't do anything. Okay. Quick styles. Just black and white. That's fine. Okay. And this is Max. So this is my little box where apparently it's not. Good. So that's where I store Max. Whatever Max is, I'm going to store it in here. I should actually have drawn vowels first, but I think we can do it without that. So inside Max, I'm going to start off by storing vowels 0, which is minus 12. 12, fine. Okay, so I've done that step. The next step, I'm going to put a 0 in second Max. So I need a second Max. Go. This is now second Max. And inside there, for the moment, 0. And then in the next line, in line 8, in my for loop, I'm going to look at the first slot of the array, which at the moment is minus 41. I'll just update that secretly so that this plan will work. I'll just make it 41 positive. I look at the 41 and I ask myself, is this a new record? Is this more rabbits than I've seen before? Until now, my record number of rabbits was minus 12. 12 people died. Some of rabbits. So yes, 41 is a new record. We have a new winner. Okay, excellent. So I'm going to put 41 in here. But the minus 12, which is the previous record, which in retrospect I shouldn't have made a negative number, but it is, I'm sorry. That's the second best that I've seen so far. It used to be the best. Now I found a new best, it's second best. So the minus 12 should be stored in Max second. Carlo, do you take a picture? Yes, you do, excellent. But if I do things in this order, let's just do them in this order first. First, I put the 41 in Max. Let's just take things back as they were. This is my previous situation. I see the 41. I do this step first. So I put 41 in the Max box. I do this step next, which puts Max, which is now 41, in the second Max box. This is wrong. This is not what I wanted to do. I wanted to put the minus 12 in second Max. It's the second best number of rabbits that I've seen so far. But because of the way I've done the assignment, I've deleted the minus 12 by overwriting it with 41 too soon. So I should have done this in the other order. I should have first updated second Max. This is where I start. I should first have updated second Max. So I should first have put the minus 12 in here. And then I should have added vals 1. Put that in Max. That would have been much better. Okay. So that little if statement updates max and also updates second max because I found a new really big value. If I find a value that's really, really small, tiny, 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 max is not going to change. A guy comes in, he's only shot one rabbit. He doesn't, oh, in this case he counts, but let's say minus 100 rabbits. He doesn't figure. I mean, this guy's an amateur. He shouldn't have been in the Olympics at all. Okay? Minus 100 rabbits doesn't register. But what happens if someone comes in who has not shot quite 41 rabbits, so they can't displace max, but they have shot 5 rabbits. They're displacing second max. They're now the second best. So another case that I must cater for is that Val's I is not bigger than max, but what if it is bigger than second max? And then I'm going to say, well, it should take the place of second max. Second max should become the Val I. Okay, and the last piece of this that I didn't explain properly before is that special value. Because at the moment, if I change the plus 41 back to minus 41, this code is broken. I run it, and it says minus 3 is the max. Oh, it doesn't say anything. Okay, all right. I run it, and it says, oh, no, it's too clever. Just give me a second. I don't understand why my code works. Oh, this is not better on. Just a quirk. It's not always going to work. There we go. Okay. So it's broken because it doesn't always give the right answer. If I use that array, it says that the maximum is minus 3, which is correct, it's true. But it says the second largest value is 0. And we know it's not. Well, firstly, 0 is more than minus 3. How can the second place guy get 0 rabbits and come second, and the minus 3 guy who shot minus 3 rabbits comes first? This system is crooked. Bribery, people. Same pattern. The reason it's broken though is because I guessed the second maximum will be 0 right at the start, in the hopes that it'll be more, but this is what's breaking it. So if I have to fix this code, I have to work on that second max, initial value. And the way I fix it is to have a special value that says there is no second max. There is no second max. But if I do find any old value and I still don't have a second max, I'll use that value as my second max. So special was a way to fix that. I'm not going to be able to explain this in the time that remains, so I'm going to stop now. Let me just tell you a few things and let you ask a few things about the test. The test is not on arrays. It's only up to and including nesting. It's tomorrow, same situation as last week, except that the alpha and beta groups are swapped. A couple of people have clashes with a legitimate test. If you haven't sent me an email yet, please send me an email to say that you're doing operations research 214, if you are, and that you need to swap the test times. Or no, we have to make a special arrangement, because you can't, you're writing the whole afternoon. Do you have any other questions you want to ask me about tomorrow? Carlo? Everything fine? Tutti bene? Bene tutti? Who speaks Italian? I don't. I can't say a word. But okay, right. Arrivederci. That's goodbye in Italian. I know that.